Today I'll be talking to Dr. Kariuki Maina. I was privileged to meet this young scientist in New York, and is currently based at the Albert Einstein College of Medicine. He is a specialist in epigenetic research and has notable experience in biochemistry, and is also an author. This is a remarkable interview for any individual interested in pursuing a career in science or biochemistry. So let's move on over and listen to Dr. Maina's story. So welcome, Dr. Maina, to my career mentor. Who is Dr. Kariuki Maina?
Well, Dr. Bantu, if you think about it, three things come to my mind. If I'm going to define who's Dr. Maina, one, Dr. Maina is God-fearing, right? I use truth as a measure of my life driving force. Dr. Maina is Africa-centric, so I'm very geared towards community development, and I know my community is Kenyan, my community is African. And Dr. Maina is evidence-driven, so most of the things that I do are based on data. So if I'm going to make a decision, I want to see what evidence supports what, right? And rather than that, I'm a family man in the making, and like everybody else, I enjoy Kenyan food. I enjoy traveling. And most importantly, I enjoy spending time with people, getting to know people. So that's Dr. Maina in brief.
Okay. So just tell us about your career in biochemistry. First of all, what is biochemistry and how does that define your career?
I agree. So biochemistry is a synergy, right? It's a synergy between the two words, bio and chemistry. So it's one thing saying that scientists we spend so much time in the lab, and that's truthful in some sense. And that's what biochemistry does. It looks at molecular mechanisms that explain life, bio, right? And so if you think of biochemistry, the lab does come to mind, and what happens in the lab, we're using chemical mechanisms to really interrogate what drives life. What drives living processes. And for me specifically, I focus on developing drugs that inhibit a process called epigenetics, right? And epigenetics is things beyond genetics. So in essence, you're born with a certain amount of DNA, and from that DNA, you make RNA. From that RNA, you make proteins, and it's the proteins that drive life. It's the proteins that make you breathe. It's the proteins that make you see. It's the proteins that make you think, right? But sometimes those processes can go wrong, Sometimes you cannot breathe. Sometimes you cannot see. Sometimes your brain cannot think. And so that's where biochemistry comes in. Biochemistry asks, can we make chemicals that can regulate these living processes? And in so doing, we can be able to correct some of these processes that have gone bad, So in brief, biochemistry is really a synergy of synthesis to interrogate living processes. And epigenetics research is where I am at.
What are you currently working on?
Well, Dr. Bantu, right now I'm mostly focused on lung cancers, right? Lung cancers are the second most fatal type of cancers, second only to pancreatic cancers, right? And if you think of cancer is a living process, as I mentioned, and that's where biochemistry comes in. Can we synthesize drugs to really deal with lung cancers, right? And so specifically, when you look at the epigenetics of lung cancers, I focus on molecules called histones. And what these histones do is the DNA that encodes the proteins wraps around these histones, And so for you to really regulate those proteins, you need to regulate that DNA. And one way of regulating that DNA is through these histones. Histones regulate DNA, and in terms the DNA regulates protein synthesis. And so my work right now focuses on designing molecule that regulates histones during lung cancer development.
Very good to see a Kenyan who's living in the US and using as much of the technology and the resources available to try and resolve this particular issue. That's well done, Dr. Maina. And hopefully we need you back, Dr. Maina. We need you back in the country to be able to help us and be able to really push the other scientists that are already working on this. Just to my next question, what type of careers emanate from the biochemistry field?
That's a good question. It really depends on what you want to do with the biochemistry, you know. For instance, for me, I'm interested in more the science part of side and the medical part of things. So you can be a scientist or you can be a medical doctor after studying chemistry. But I did also mention that biochemistry enables you to make drugs. And so you can be a pharmacist, you know, you can be a medicinal chemist. And at the end of the day, you can be an entrepreneur, you know. Should you come up with a drug that you are able to bring back to community and bring back to markets, then you can start your own company, you know. And eventually, if you're starting your own company, you can also be a lawyer and an advocate. Nowadays, there's a lot of patents that are being filed for new drugs. And those patents need people to look at the data, to look at the science, you know. So from biochemistry, you can be a scientist, you can be a medical doctor, you can be a pharmacist, you can be an entrepreneur, you can be an advocate, and you can also work for the government side of things as an inspector general to make sure that the drugs are actually up to date and safe to use for humans.
How do you prepare yourself? Either mentally, academically, and all that in terms of this particular career field?
I agree. That's a good question. Good because one, preparation cannot be done individually. You know, I think by you listening into shows such as this one, you know, by you networking with people. You open up your opportunities of knowledge and learn so much as you get along, make you a good candidate in the future, you know. So for instance, make sure that you do very well in your courses, you know. It never hurts to always do good and to get good grades in school, you know. That's important, you know. Secondly, if you can expand your research portfolio. So there are very many institutions in Kenya that do research right now. Cambridge, you know, University of Nairobi, you know, JQ. If you can reach out to a professor who can take you in and enable you to learn just one skill, you know, that skill could be polymerase chain reaction, it could be chromatin representation, it could be Western blot analysis. Just one research skill that's gonna you become very efficient at. That's really gonna put you on top, you know. Thirdly, I want to say that whoever wants to pursue a science career in the future or any other career, I really encourage you to take computer programming right now, you know, because it seems computer programming is going to permeate in all fields of our society in the coming future. And one resource that I recommend for you to start on is a book called Computer Programming for Dummies. You know, it's online, it's freely available. Or you can find it at the local library, right? And just start by reading that and start practicing how to code and how to write programs, including biochemistry and data science, you know. And then lastly, do not give up, you know. You know, you can prepare, you know, you can talk to people, you know, you can get a richer skill, you can learn computer programming. But once in a while you get challenges that you think can detract you from want to pursue biochemistry, want to pursue a scientific career. You just keep pushing to the very end. Just know that the more you put in, there's always a reward too at the end. So that's what I would say.
Okay, that's beautiful. That's very good advice for young people. You declined an offer to go to the University of Nairobi, all right, and decided to pursue your degree in biochemistry in the United States. What informed that particular decision, and why didn't you pursue it here in Kenya?
Looking back, it looks like a very easy decision that I made. You know, I mean, there you are, just graduated from high school. And then you get the opportunity to go study in the USA, you know. And any person who gets this opportunity, it's very, very almost easy for you to do it, you know. But my decision was informed by multiple factors. One was, I think the biggest one was in terms of money. I did not come from a rich family.
Okay.
But the institution that I was going to study at, called St. Lawrence University, offered me a scholarship, you know. And so I told myself, hey, instead of getting loans from HELB and attend University of Nairobi, I can utilize this scholarship to study at a world-renowned university, right? So that was one big factor. The second one was time. I knew that if I was going to pursue University of Nairobi, I would have waited about 1.5 years before enrolling into University of Nairobi. But here was this opportunity that I could start 6 months after leaving high school, you know. So the fact that I could overcome money, I could overcome time, and have the support of my family, it really gave me the motivation to pursue a degree in the US, not University of Nairobi.
You're currently pursuing an MD degree, right? After you did your PhD degree. Isn't that enough already?
For me, I knew the problem at hand, which is cancer, needs multiple angles to attack it, you know. So there was a PhD that equipped me with research skills, but then I needed to know the patient management kind of side. That's why I pursued an MD, you know. And I think that's not enough either. So I know I'll have to continue learning. I'll have to continue talking to more people. I'll have to continue doing more research. I'll have to continue educating myself. So it's going to be a long time, at least until we solve this issue. And I bet you once this issue is solved, another issue is going to come up. You know, it's continuous.
And right now we have COVID-19. That's another big issue that has come up, and more researchers are needed to actually find the cause, the cure, the vaccines, and all that.
Absolutely, you know, absolutely. So it's going to be a lifelong thing, and I do not mind it. I think education is powerful, and I encourage everybody to learn as much as they can, whether in high school, undergraduate, or graduates. That's why I was saying learn so much and do very well in your courses, but then read extra books too, or talk to people too outside your field to really get a gauge of what's going on around you. So that's what I was saying.
Very good. You talked earlier about scholarships, and I'm interested in finding out how did you go about your scholarships, and what advice can you give to people interested in pursuing a career in biochemistry and also other fields? How do they access these scholarships?
Unfortunately, I think these scholarships are all by word of mouth. Going back to what you mentioned, Otabanto, it's all about talking and preparing and knowing the knowledge around you. And so I want to say that one way is just go to Google and as a search term, just put in scholarships for underrepresented students, you know. And by underrepresented, I mean, you know, minorities like Kenyans, minorities like Hispanics, minorities like anyone who's not handling positions that are traditionally occupied by certain groups. You know, they are considered underrepresented, you know. So that's just one way. A second way, I think, which is the most important, is to email the institutions you're interested in, you know. So for instance, if you want to go to Stanford University, for instance, or you want to go to University of Oxford, or you want to go to, you know, University of New Delhi or Makerere University. You can go online and find the admission officers and just emailing them and ask them, hey, I'm interested in your institution. There are opportunities for scholarships to fund me, you know. And you'll be surprised. There's actually so much that they know, and they'll be willing to tell you. And let me put a plug in here that if people don't respond to your emails, do not hesitate to pick up the phone and call them, you know. Just be persistent and be proactive.
You
finding
have
out this information. That way is to look at your government, you know. The Kenyan government or the UK government, if you want to go to study in the UK, or the United States or Ghana government. Most governments do have monies that allow for studying of foreigners within their institutions.
Yeah.
And lastly, there's specific resources or specific programs that I know off my mind, and they are way more than this. For instance, Zawadi Africa,
Okay.
or the United World Colleges, or the United States Achievers programs.
Okay.
These three come on the top of my mind, but if you Google them, you can find out information specific on how to get their scholarship. So
okay,
that's what I'll say. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much. That's really useful information for a lot of people. And I like the way you specifically talked about some of them, which people can be able to look up to and be able to advance their careers. And because not all of us are really savvy in terms of finances, they could actually help a lot of students be able to pursue their careers. And even more so, with this issue of delays going to universities, as you said, can be able to assist them to get onto a university as quickly as possible and pursue their careers at such a young age. What does your daily schedule look like on a daily basis as a scientist?
I have a little bit of freedom in doing research. So my daily activities will include going to work around 9:30 and work by, the lab, setting up experiments.
Okay.
During the morning, and then in the evening or afternoon, I read more about my research and I understand what's going on. I go to seminars. I talk to my professors. In essence, expanding my knowledge regarding the question I'm trying to pursue.
Okay.
So that's primarily what I do. But then, because I'm also doing an MB degree, I have to go to classes. Good thing right now, most of the classes are virtually because of the COVID-19. So
yeah,
I sit in on those classes and just see what's going on.
How do scientists actually balance their work and their life, their family life? That balance, yes.
I agree. I think it's a tough issue, and honestly, I'm still learning myself how to balance that.
Okay.
But it's very doable. It's very, very doable. And so far, there are three things that I've learned. I think the first is you have to strike an understanding with your family or significant other or the other entity in your life.
Okay.
And I'm fortunate to have a girlfriend who understands my career. And she's very, very supportive. So if I have to go do an experiment in the weekend, she'll understand, and we'll adjust things accordingly. If I have to stay late at night or if I have to go very early in the morning, she understands that part. So I think that's important. Just being aware of what you're getting into will really, really solve tension downstream.
Having conversations, right? Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. No, absolutely. The second useful thing I think that I've learned is to always take some time off during the day, just some private time to really do something I'm interested in, So maybe 1 to 30 minutes. I read a novel, maybe I call family, I go washing, meditate, I pray, that really helps me in terms of balancing my work plus the things that I'm interested in, The third thing I want to say is always be flexible, because if I set things in stone, it becomes very, very hard. Say, for instance, if I have to go to an emergency meeting or I have to go traveling somewhere, So those I'll say are the three things that I've learned so far in terms of balancing work and life.
Are you really going to be coming back to this country? And when you come back, what can we expect from Dr. Maina?
There is a reminder of at least where I'm from.
That's right.
If I'm to come back, I really hope to not only just treat the disease, but I like to empower my fellow Kenyans by enhancing training programs, by opening job creation, job opportunities. And I'm aware that right now, there's this wave of doctors and there's this wave of professionals just like you, who are really enhancing education for future generation of Kenyans.
Yes.
And it's very, very humbling for me. In fact, it's people like you that give me motivation, that this is
Thank you.
doable, And so, so I would like to come back and just join that wave and work with that wave and become part of the solution in terms of empowering Kenyan communities and Kenyans overall, So, so hopefully open a clinic, hopefully open a school, hopefully create jobs, open up companies, that is my plan in return to Kenya. I want to put in a plug right now for the leaders of our nation. I think they're putting in measures to allow Kenyans in diaspora to come back. And I really applaud them for that. And I'm hoping that leaders continue seeing this vision of encouraging investment from abroad. Kenyans for Kenyans kind of thinking. That's it.
Yeah, we've had a lot of Kenyans who have really come back during this COVID-19 period, which is a very good thing. And I also came back. I decided to just come back. I've been here enjoying this country so much. I love Kenya. I love just being here. And as you've said, partly the reason I'm doing this particular program is because a lot of schools do not have career fairs. They don't have career offices to be able to support their careers. And so talking to many schools around Kenya, and I work a lot with some schools in Kibera, coming up with mental health programs, is that I realized there was a void. There was a void in terms of career fairs. And this is one thing I would like to really get as many careers as possible on my YouTube channel. And anyone can access this. Any child, wherever you are, whether you're in at the horn of Kenya, where in Marsabit, wherever it is, to be able to access this particular program and be able to know what careers are out there. How do we know? A child in a remote area in Kenya actually is very good in chemistry, very good in sciences, is very good in math. So instead of thinking, well, I'm gonna just own a border with all due respect to the border riders, that I can be able to become like Dr. Maina and be able to pursue a bigger dreams and come back and help maybe with cancer research and many other types of research. So that's basically why I'm doing this. And coming back to something else. Tell me about your high school days. Where did you go to high school? Were you really interested in science when you're in high school? Or did this just come upon you later?
No, I agree. High school days were crazy days, anybody who did 844 system or whoever is in high school right now will completely understand. You're dealing with your own maturity, you're dealing with peer pressure, you're trying to be independent from your family, it's a crazy whirlwind of a time, but I gotta tell you that I was a complete nerd in high school. I was very, very interested in mechanisms. I was very, very interested in objective things,
Okay, I'm smiling here. You were a nerd.
Yes, I was, shameless plug for all nerds out there,
They rule the world now. Okay.
I agree. That being said, though, I think all spheres of talent are accepted. While I was a nerd, there were people that I knew were very good at drama. There are people who are very, very good at writing. There are people who are very, very good at talking. And each one of them just enhance their own talents to become whoever they are in society right now. So it's all a really good balance and knowing what you want early. So at Alliance High School, I realized that I was interested in science. And the way it was at that time, 844 was there were certain requirements that were needed by the Kenya National Examination Council. Mathematics, Swahili, English. At the same time, one science, one humanities, one social science, or one language, something like that. And so I did courses based on that framework. But Alliance High School also required extra mandatory requirements. For instance, chemistry. Chemistry was required for all students. Plus another science, so we were supposed to do 2 sciences instead of just 1. And that's why I ended up doing both chemistry, biology, and physics, at the same time. And then I took geography, and then I took power mechanics. Power part and parcels, I really want to solve issues. Power mechanics allows you to take out a system and then bring it all together, understand how it works. Okay. Geography is spatial distribution of things, so it really enhanced my desire for biochemistry. And I think, and I want to say that's where it started, I was not so sure if I wanted to do biochemistry or engineering. It was between those two. But as I moved on within the ladder, biochemistry became very clear for me. So that's how it was. Yes.
All right. Very good. Very good to hear about your journey. And for those kids out there who feel that maybe they're nerdy, there are still opportunities. You can still get there, and you can be like Dr. Maina. So as I conclude this, I just want to thank you so much for coming onto this, My Career Mentor. It's really something that is going to reach out to young people, and I know a lot of people are going to benefit from this particular interview and all the wise words that you've been able to share with us. And all the best in your work, and hopefully we want you back in Kenya because we really need you here.
Yes.
Cancer is something that is prevalent in the country. And if we have as many of you as possible, this will help us to solve a lot of problems and also limit the amount of medical tourism that is going on in the country. So thank you so much for talking to me.
Thank you for having me, Dr. Bantu. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay.